title of this section is How to Know When It's Time to Take Action. In this section, I would like to discuss the role that actions play in the process of deliberate creation. Most people have the misconception that you get what you want in life by the actions that you take, by what you do, that the doing, the action part, is what makes things happen. As you will learn in a few minutes, this is false. In fact, if you analyze it, most people's actions are spent trying to compensate for inappropriate creating. What do I mean by that? We have been programmed to believe that in order to have what we want, we must work hard. This is a core belief of most people. How many times have you heard, no pain, no gain? The implication is that if you want to be successful at anything, you must work hard. The message is clear. If you are not suffering or struggling, you're not making progress. But here's the truth. Any time that you are suffering or struggling, you are miscreating. Any time you struggle or feel pain, you are attracting what you don't want rather than what you do want. I will repeat that because it's so important. Any time you struggle or feel pain, you are attracting what you don't want rather than what you do want. The reason we tend to put a lot of emphasis on action is because we don't understand the power of deliberate creation and the laws of quantum physics. Once you understand how this creative process works and cooperate with it, you will find there's a lot less action needed to accomplish your goals. Most of our actions are spent putting out brush fires that we've created along the way because we were miscreating. So we have to take action to correct our mistakes. However, when you use the process of deliberate creation, you will see that the universe will provide a different set of circumstances for you that require much less action. Now, I'm not saying that actions are not important or necessary. The point I'm trying to make is that most of the actions that people take are not in harmony with their true desires. Most people act out of doubt, fear, and worry. They are using action to compensate for inappropriate creating. The Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu said this: "In the practice of the way, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at the place of non-action, where nothing is done and nothing is left undone." When I first read this quote, it made absolutely no sense to me. That was because I had never had the experience of achieving without doing. I was brought up to believe that you have to work hard to get what you want. And of course, that was my life experience. There's another Taoist story about a group of Confucian intellectuals that came across a waterfall while strolling through the woods. As they looked into the water, they noticed the body of an old man bobbing up and down in the roaring, churning water. Horrified, they rushed to the edge of the water, trying to figure out how they were going to get the body out of the water and give it a decent burial. Their discussion suddenly came to an abrupt end when the supposedly dead old man pops out of the water, dries himself off, and walks away. Astonished, the scholars ran after the old man and asked, "How did you survive in that water? No one could swim in that water without being killed." "It's really easy," the old man told them. "You just go up when the water goes up, and you go down when the water goes down. In other words, you don't resist the natural flow of the water." The lesson here is that you don't have to struggle. The problem is that most of us are preoccupied with our doing. Unfortunately, most of our doing usually involves struggle. In the Western world, we are conditioned to be action-oriented, so we place a tremendous value on doing. We are so busy doing that we don't realize that all this doingness causes us to create in reverse. The problem is that when you place your emphasis on doing or taking action, you are limited to how much you can accomplish because you can only do so much. In addition to creating in reverse, not much of our action gets done with joy. We are conditioned to deliberately sacrifice joy in the moment for the sake of rewards in the future that we believe will bring us the happiness and satisfaction that we seek. This causes us to live out of the moment and look to some point or place in the future for our happiness. However, as you have learned, your present moment is your future. So when you arrive at what you call your future, You're unhappy because you're not there. You are looking toward another point in the future when you will be happy and satisfied. Most of this is a result of placing our emphasis on creating through action or doing instead of through our thoughts. Because we place so much emphasis on what we need to do, we think nothing will get done unless we do something. We're trying to force our desire into manifestation through action. Yet most of these actions are unnecessary and are often counterproductive. This causes us to take another action to try to fix the last action. Then, getting more frustrated, we take another action, and so on. People often say to me, "What should I do?" Or, "I don't know what to do." The answer is simple. If you don't know what to do, don't do anything. The fact that you don't know what to do means that you don't have enough information yet, so don't do anything. When it's time for action, you will feel positive emotion from your internal guidance system and your authentic self, and that's your clue to move. Otherwise, the action is counterproductive. Again, realize that it's not your action that makes things happen. It's your intent. Most people believe that they have to put in a certain amount of activity or action in order to get a certain amount of results. In addition, they think there's only so much action that they can take within a limited period of time, so they're always stressed out. The only reason they're stressed out is because they believe that their actions do the creating. Most people try to use action rather than aligning their energy with their intentions. As a result, they feel overwhelmed because they can't produce enough action, or they can't put in enough effort to make things happen. The proper use of action is to reap or collect the rewards of what you've created through your thought. The key is to make a decision that any action that you take will always come after and be based on what you have been thinking and feeling. Here's the secret. You can reduce the need for action to a minimum by allowing yourself to focus on what you desire until you feel the positive energy begin to move within you. Trust me, if you will do this, you will know when it's time to take action. And when you do, it will be effortless. Doors will open and the entire universe will conspire to assist you in creating your desire. Put simply, you should take no action on anything until you have visualized your desire and made it real enough in your mind so that your next action, or the next step, whatever it is, seems like the most logical step. How can you know if the next step is a logical step? Here is a test that you can give yourself before taking any action. If you focus on what you desire and you still feel overwhelmed or anxious, then you are not ready for action. You know you are ready for action when it feels like the next logical step is effortless. That means there's no effort, no strain, and no pain. Unfortunately, most of the time we are trying to force things to happen. So the next action that we take doesn't feel like the next logical step. And the reason it doesn't feel that way is because it's not the next logical step. What we need to do is to use the leverage of creative energy, the same force that creates everything in the universe. For example, earlier we talked about flip switching. And I said that all you needed to do was to hold any thought that made you feel better for just 15 seconds. I use this number because of the research that I have done in observing the change in people when they focused their energy on anything that made them feel good for a certain period of time. What we don't realize is that it doesn't take much time to shift things in our lives. It's not the time we spend doing things, but the time we spend that's not interrupted by our doubts, fears, and worries. In fact, 15 seconds of thought not contradicted by fear, doubt, or worry is equivalent to over 10 hours of activity. Just 60 seconds of non-contradicted thought is equivalent to more action than you could take in a day. Keep in mind that thought is 100 times more powerful than action. Action is absolutely necessary, but it should not be used to replace creative thought. The problem is we rarely hold ourselves in focus with non-contradictive thought for even 15 seconds. We are so caught up in thinking about our current circumstances or what's happening in the moment that we feel that we must put in more time, more mental effort, and more physical activity to change our circumstances and create what we want. Have you ever seen people who seem to have all the wonderful things in life without much effort? They seem to have an advantage over everyone else. Then you notice that the people who work the hardest usually have the least. That doesn't seem fair, does it? But that's the way the universe works. Unfortunately, those who work the hardest usually have the least because they haven't learned the leverage of aligning their energy with their intentions. They are going about creating their lives the hard way. They are trying to use their actions to create what they want. If you observe poor people, what do they all have in common? They only know how to use their actions to create what they want. They have no idea that they can create what they want through their thoughts, and thereby only have to take 10% of the actions that they're currently taking to get the same results. If they focused on what they want instead of what they don't want, they could increase the results by 100-fold. Remember, the creation of anything is through your vibration. Everything vibrates, and it's by that vibration that we harmonize and attract our results. So before you act or do anything, ask yourself first, what am I vibrating? How can you tell what you're vibrating? You know the answer to that by now, but in case you missed it, you can tell by how you feel. Your feelings are a clear indicator of what you are vibrating or sending out. And more importantly, how you feel determines what you attract. So to sum this up, action is a necessary step, but it must always be the last step. It cannot be used effectively to create what you want. If you want to create through your actions by forcing things to happen, you can get the same result. But your life will be one of stress, worry, and anxiety. You can avoid all of this and get the same or a better result. All you have to do is to focus on what you desire and then step back and wait until you feel positive emotion to take action. When you take action based on positive emotion, it will not only be the right action, but it will be effortless. The end result is you will have what you desire and at the same time live a happy, stress-free life. One of the things we have to be careful of is using the words want and need. When you use the words want and need, you communicate to yourself and to the universe that you don't already have something, which is your first mistake. Also, that you are in a state of not having it, but wishing that you did, which is your second mistake. The problem is compounded by the fact that wanting and needing are perpetual states of lack. We all want something out of life. Yet the problem is that most of us spend a whole lot of time on wanting, and very little time in the state of having or accepting. Consider this. If you tell yourself that you want something, then you don't have it. Otherwise, you wouldn't want it. Thinking in terms of wanting only creates more wanting. Wanting implies lack. When you consistently say that you want something, your subconscious mind assumes that you don't have it. When you want something without believing that you already have it, then you attract more of not having it because that is your map of reality. By putting yourself in a state of having or accepting rather than wanting, your thoughts vibrate at a higher level. So instead of thinking, I want a new car, think, I accept that I have a new car. Instead of thinking, I wish I were rich, think, I accept that I am rich. Now, this may seem like mental gymnastics, but it's not. The mental state of accepting that you have something is the key to manifesting. Actually, you never get what you want. Now, you may disagree with this, but it's a fact. It only looks like people get what they say they want, but this is not so. What actually happens is that they eventually shift from the state of wanting to finally accepting that it's possible for them. And then they get what they initially wanted. But as long as they are in the state of wanting, they cannot get what they want. This unconscious shifting from a state of wanting to a state of having or accepting is easily done all the time. but often only for small things. However, what if you wanted something big? Something that you had never achieved before? Would you still get it if you wanted it? If it is something big or something that you've never done before, it's a lot harder for you to unconsciously shift from the wanting state because you haven't experienced it before. For example, if you found yourself wanting $50, it would be easy for you to unconsciously shift from the state of wanting to accepting that it was possible for you to create $50. Then you would do something to bring about the $50 because you've done it before, over and over again. But what if you wanted $1 million, but you never had or never earned more than $25,000 at one time in your life before? Would you be able to shift unconsciously from wanting $1 million to accepting that you could create it? Most likely not. So the more you want something, the more it will elude you. Since you can never get what you want, what's the solution? Simple. Replace want with desire. Say to yourself, I desire. Why is this important? Because if you have a desire, any desire, it also indicates that you have a built-in ability to manifest it. For example, you may have worked at a job for most of your life, but you have a desire to start a particular type of business or a career that appeals to you. If you have a desire to do so, this indicates that you also have the innate ability to be able to learn how to start and be successful at that type of business or career. Your authentic self or your essential silent partner knows everything that you need to do to make this happen. A true desire, not a want, is a message from your authentic self that you are in harmony with your life purpose. Unlike wanting, desire isn't a denial that you don't have what you want. Desire is a yearning to have what is already yours. People may say they are the same thing, but they're not. Now, before I continue, let me clarify an important point. You will often hear me say, focus on what you want. That may sound like a statement of wanting or not having. But when I use the term want, I unconsciously understand that I already have it. I consider it a desire. My point here, it's not so much the words want and need we should be avoiding. What we want to avoid is the state of wanting and needing. It doesn't help to avoid the words want and need and replace them with the word desire if at the same time we are in fact in a state of wanting and needing. Language is a symbol that's used to represent an idea. For most people, the words want and need are symbols that represent an idea or a state of not having something. It is therefore the state that you should avoid. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use the word want, but be careful when you use it in the context of invoking a state of not having. When you are in a state of not needing and not wanting, it frees the subconscious mind to open up a path to that particular result. It allows you to have an intention and at the same time be detached about the outcome. When you don't want or need something, it's much easier to be detached from the outcome. You still intend to have a future outcome. You are still certain of it, but you are detached as to what's happening in the present moment. For example, assume that you intend to be a millionaire. But at the present moment, events are moving in such a way that it suggests that you're not going to reach your goal. You will make the best progress towards that goal if you are detached about your present moment. Meaning, you accept the present moment as it is instead of fighting it and getting frustrated and losing hope. But regardless of your detachment, you keep your certainty about your outcome in the future, about becoming a millionaire. The secret is to have an intention and certainty concerning the outcome of your desire, but at the same time be detached to what's happening in the present moment. I'll say that again because it's important. The secret is to have an intention and a certainty concerning the outcome of your desire, but at the same time be detached to what's happening in the present moment. If you will do this, your life will become richer and much happier. Resistance and frustration will be a thing of the past, and you will increase your certainty and confidence in creating what you desire. Hopefully, you have learned by now that you cannot fail to get what you desire if your goals are clear and if you are certain. When you are certain, it's impossible to fail. Failure would mean breaking the laws of the universe. So certainty enables you to relax, knowing that whatever you desire is on the way to you, regardless of how your present moment looks. If you train yourself to become detached from what's happening in the present moment, it enables you to give up all resistance. By giving up all resistance, you automatically place yourself in a state of allowing. Instead of resisting, you allow your desire to come to you easily and effortlessly. When you are not in a state of needing or wanting, you are in alignment with your purpose. Also, please remember that others do not have to do without in order for you to have what you desire. We live in a limitless universe where there's more than enough for everyone. Lack and scarcity are an illusion. If there is a lack, it's because we create it through our thoughts. At the quantum level, there is an unlimited potential supply of everything. A good example of how this works is to think of the Internet. You can order digital software, music, and downloaded products online. The individual company offering these products will never run out. No matter how many people download, there will always be more. How do you run out of a music or a software download? It's impossible. No matter how many copies you download, the original still remains. This is how the universe works. It can supply more than enough for everyone without running out. When you believe in scarcity, or there's not enough of anything, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is true for an individual, town, city, state, country, or the world. The law of attraction never stops working. So all you have to do is to allow what you desire to come to you, and then do not take any action on that desire until you feel positive emotion within you. At that moment, you will know what to do. And it will always be the right thing at the right time.